support both sides. Support both sides. If they give us peace, that is wonderful. If they decide to go down the route of violence, then I can give you this assurance today. Of course, your worldwide listeners and viewers may be able to note this. If they do not give us Biafra, there will be nothing living in that very zoo they call Nigeria. Nothing will survive there, I can assure you. You see, 1967 to 1970 is not 2013 to 2015. We had scientists then, now we have men that can make things happen, even better than what we had in the late 60s. So that should ring as a warning to all of them that we are not joking. I do not believe in peaceful actualization or whatever rubbish is called. I have never seen where you become free by peaceful means. If you know, you tell me. I'm a student of contemporary history. I have never come across anywhere in history books where you get your freedom out of a peaceful process. It's never happened. Never, ever, ever.
Without Biafra, you are nothing. As long as you are from Biafra land, by which I mean Ishekiri, Urobo, Isoko, if you're from Azon, if you come from a Gala, from Idoma, you are Igbo, you are Ibibio, you are Efik. I am telling you.
If we abandon Chukwukika Biama in truth and honesty, please goodbye to Biafra. Biafra can happen in the beyond years. You'll be only running around in circles. You can never come. It is the kingdom of heaven itself. You want to do something that is happening in heaven, on earth, for mankind to see and testify to the goodness of the Lord. You have to be of the courage. You have to be without fear in the face of your enemies. If you are without fear before your enemies will run from you. Rather than you running from them, your enemies will run from you. If you speak the truth always, regardless of the consequences, lies will run from you. You must protect those who cannot protect themselves, not to steal from them. I repeat, it is your job as a child of heaven, IPOB family member, to protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is your job. Not to kidnap them, not to rob them. You must be of good conduct. That's Chiku Okike Abia left. If these conditions are not in place, Biafra will not come. And drop me like an auntie. Biafra Gahabia. Ana Akatiana. Ana Abotiano. Going to a native doctor, Dibianyanzu, cannot save you. If you want Biafra, and I am making audition, it doesn't work. We don't believe in that rubbish. Chukwukika is our shield and our guide. We don't commune with darkness. I am warning all 17 commanders, all our commanders, we don't commune with the devil. We don't do audition. We believe in the protection that Chukwukika can offer. The weapon you need to protect yourself is your gun and your ammunition. We don't commune with spirit. It's sorcery.
Hello, good day to you. I want to welcome you to this live broadcast today. Thank you for joining wherever you are. Today is Friday, the 16th day of June 2023, and looking into the delays to Biafra freedom. Yesterday, I gave an analogy, and I tried to open your minds to some facts. But today, also, I'm going to be speaking in that line, but slightly different from it, because today is going to be more of analyzing the details of yesterday. Thank you so much, Makiev Media. Welcome to Welcome on board, Mazi. I greet you. Continue to be stronger. Thank you so much, and I'll continue to be as you have advised. Thank you so much, Akonwa. Good to have you here. All hail Biafra. I want to appreciate everyone who is joining. We are going to be discussing critically because we want to be free. I don't know if you want to remain in slavery, but for me, I want to be free. And so every secret that has kept me down, every secret that has kept us down, we must exhume and we must analyze them. We must discover, we must look for, we must seek. We must seek for the truth. We must seek for the truth. Very, very fundamental, because the truth will open up the lies and also teach us how to handle the facts of the truth so that we can get to our promise. It is very, very important that we key into these facts. We can't just fight, keep struggling and thinking of Biafra in isolation. We can just keep thinking about how we're going to get our freedom without looking at what has really made us to lose all this while, or what has kept us in this situation, or what is causing the delays. We must look into these facts because these are where we're going to have the answers to how we can do it better. And I want to assure you that if we do that, we're going to always have the results. That is why Chukokike is bringing people who are going to think very deeply at this time about the freedom so that we can help to reason together and help to prompt the people to reason. We are a people who have been battered by slavery, by circumstances, by situations, by poverty, by the desire to survive. We have been seeking, we have been people, we grew in slavery, we grew up in slavery, and all that is in our minds is how we're going to survive. And so because we're thinking of how to survive, even the things that we're going to do right, that we are supposed to do right to get ourselves free, we tend to have a wrong notion about them and not comprehend them by constructive reasoning. And that is the reason why we find ourselves struggling about everything, because anything we embark on, what we're looking for is how we're going to eat from it. Anything, whatever, no matter how sensitive they are, all we are seeking, all we're looking at, all we are thinking about is how we're going to survive, how we're going to eat. So when freedom for Biafra came into the equation, it now became a situation of how we're going to, people began to think of how they're going to eat out of it, how they're going to sell the leader to eat out of it, how they're going to do whatever they're going to do to eat out of it. Now, this has been a plaguing problem because we always see, and the mind of anybody who thinks of survival is how to make sure that he gets out of a situation at a particular time. That is consistent with the mind of one who seeks to survive. That is why it is a struggle for anybody who wants to be free to get on the realm of emotion. Because when you find yourself in a particular situation, you definitely would exude more of your emotion than your reasoning. That is the natural tendency, that you want to just exude that aspect of your emotion rather than reasoning. That is why anytime some people just get into trouble, the first thing you do is you want to escape. The next thing is that you want to emotion quickly springs up because you want to, your emotion, you are gripped with fear, and fear, when it grips you, you begin to think of how to run. But some people might not think of how the running would be safe. That is where the senses will now come in. How do I get myself together and make sure that I do the right thing now in this situation? And that is where it is critical. And so this is the fact. We want to prompt you to know how to do what to do when you find yourself in a critical situation. Thank you so much, Okechukwu, Biafra TV, good comrade, and all those who are lovers of freedom. Chukwu Kike, Abiyama, bless you all. Chukwu. Okechukwu, thank you so much, comrade. I appreciate you for being here. Comrade, keep up your good work. Yes, I will. Yesterday, I began with a particular narrative. First, I looked at the situation we have found ourselves in, where people begin to fund, a particular cause of struggle, or this cause of Biafra freedom, funding Biafra freedom, bringing their resources, bringing their time, bringing everything about them to impute into the cause of freedom, to talking about them being free as Biafrans, seeking for freedom, without thinking of what should be done so that the energy, the investment would not go aground. Now, it is critical that it only takes reasonable people to think about how much they have on ground before they begin to put money into it. We have become a people in Africa that when we just think of any business, all we are looking for, the next thing is money. It has become idiosyncratic of an African because all you are thinking of is survival. You're not thinking of structure. You're not thinking of effectiveness. You're not thinking of a lifeline. You are thinking of survival at that point in time. So some people just because of the situation they find themselves. Yes, I know you're American. I'm just addressing you by your name on your formal name on the TV. You know, that's what I know. It's you. I know it's you. Now you're not thinking of this because you have a fundamental problem of emotional disposition that prompts your mindset towards survival rather than towards a lifeline of strategic existence. Now, these are two facts: lifeline of strategic existence and survival. Survival is an instinctive thing because naturally every created thing thinks about survival, including trees and all of that. All they do is they want to get water. Where do I get water to continue to live? The animals think of food and all of that, and how to hide from predators and all of that. These are survival instincts, even included, of course, of everything we do to survive. It is also part of human existence, survival. But when you begin to go critical beyond survival, then you begin to think about a strategic lifeline that will help you to sustain life, not just on the aspect of surviving, but of the aspect of productivity and purposeful living. Purposeful living. Now, if that would happen, then people would have to understand what life truly is. And when you understand what life truly is, then you must understand the fundamentals that make life meaningful. And that is what we call beliefs. Now, today I'm going to be looking at critically at beliefs because the formation of one's belief or belief system or the mindset of believing or how you believe a thing determines how you handle or how you approach the thing. The way someone believes that a woman what a woman is the way they're going to handle their families. For instance, you have communities where they believe that the woman is just there to be, to just take care of the children and just feed the children, and then the man have to go to work to get the money and the woman stays in the house to do the things. That is a belief system because they grew up in an environment or in a situation or in a culture or a cultural disposition or a traditional narrative that tells them that women are just instruments of building a family rather than co-partners in a family life, and so they see women as when you go to places not supposed to work, women are not supposed to go to school, women are not supposed to I hope we're live now. We're live now. Okay, all right. I hope people can hear me. We have a situation there. There was a network problem here. I'm frozen. Okay, I don't know why it's always like this. I don't know what is wrong with the network in this area, and then suddenly it goes, it freezes, and all of that. So I hope you guys can hear me properly now. I can see someone, Mark, you are sending message on Messenger that I don't want the program to be streamed. I sent the link and you said I don't want the program to be streamed. I don't understand. How can I send a link for the program to be streamed and I don't want the program to be streamed when we all are working together? You know, so it doesn't. I don't know why you are saying that. Anyways, don't always run into conclusions. Always find, you know, to know the facts before run to conclusions. I'm trying to see why it's not being streamed because I can see your presence here, but I can only um, I can only I don't know why it is not why you cannot stream because I can see here nobody has connected yet. Anyways, please try as much as don't just conclude that I don't want you to stream. That is why I sent the link so that people can join in. I don't know what is causing the lack of being able to join. I don't know, but please maybe I'm going to check the settings later to know what is going on. I don't know if the new event is causing the situation of that kind of situation. But let's go on, please, without wasting much time. Now, okay, I'm now audible. All right, thank you so much. So now let's go on, please. I want us to be very quick on this because of time, and I don't want the network to keep kicking us out here. Now, I was talking about this lifeline procedure to things, the mindset of building a fundamental and a particular order that lives beyond strings, goals into the future. Now, I gave you a story of Chief Akiri yesterday and what he did to that 7-year-old girl, Mumsy. And I tried to paint a picture from that for us to think about it. How come the community, that is just for Calabar alone, that's Apapa, that's the formal name, Calabar. Now, that is just for Calabar. We are not even talking about what happened in other parts of Biafra land, other places like maybe Owerri, like Anambra, like other places, we are not going to talk about all of those ones, but we're just going to look at that Calabar. We want to use it as a case study for the whole of Biafra land. Why would a man who is like me, flesh blood, just because he has a privilege of becoming the chief, whether by forcing forcing himself on the people, or whether by the people appointing him, or whether by by belief system, he came to that throne. Why would a man who has flesh, blood, and all of that take a 7-year-old girl, impregnate her? She gives birth at 8 years, 4 months. The community keeps quiet. Nobody says anything. Everything goes normal. The whole place is silent, and people are still praising him. He will still stay up and still rule the people until the next 7 years. He picks up his daughter that 8-year-old girl gave birth to and impregnates that one also. And then also things continue. The norm continues. Now, I want you to, because we want to look at this situation and look at why we do the things we do now. Because, of course, those people then were also Biafrans, because in the 1880s, I think they were not called, yes, they were called Biafrans. I don't know what they were called then anyways, but it was still part of the territory. I can't remember now what they're called in the 1880s, whether it's called Biafra or something, or Biafra, or whatever it's called then. And maybe I'm going to make research to remember. I can think I've lost that information. Now, if anybody knows about that information, you can send me what were we called before in the 1800s. You can send me the information. You can make the research quickly and just forward it to me so that I can remember, what were we called in the 1800s? Were we called Biafrans? Were we called Biafras? Or the it's called Biafra Bite, the Bite of Biafra. I know that area is called the Bite of Biafra. But the name of course, we have communities like that. We have the like the Akwakpa, we have the Owe Eri, we have other Eri and all and all of that. All those details that make up the communities in Biafra land. And we had you know, they're still there today. The names of the places are still there. But now this particular community, represented by this chief Akiri, now did these atrocities, committed these atrocities, and everybody kept quiet, and nothing happened to the man. Everything goes, just one man and his few team and group of people ruling the communities, and then the whole of the community that have that has well, that has the you know, that has several, the whole of the community that has several, several times, more than 1,000 times more than the few people ruling them. They couldn't do anything. They were overwhelmed by the king. They felt comfortable with the details of what the king had done or the chief had done, and they are just comfortable, and the chief did what he did and nothing happened. Nobody did anything. Now let's liken it to what is happening right now. Today in our communities, in our nation, Biafra, we have so many people, or few people, of course, in the whole of Biafra, all over the nations of the world. We have close to more than 100 or 120,000 and 120 million people who are Biafrans scattered all over the nations of the world. And we have few people amongst us who are promoting the concept of the slave, the colonial masters, you know, the colonialists, you know, the colonialists, you know, or however it's called, you know, colonialist or colonialist, whatever you want to call it. Now, these few people are playing the role of the colonial masters, enforcing and imposing their doctrines, their rules, their tactics, their fraud, their criminality, their death, their killing, their poverty on the people, and yet nobody's saying anything. Now, remember, Chief Akiri then was also in charge of the slave business, the slavery business, where people were kidnapped, where people were taken, where people were, sold out to, through that Akwakpa seaport, which is Calabar seaport, transported all over the nations of the world to go be slaves all over the nations of the world, and to whatever, how they are sold, how they are killed, and whatever happens to them. You know, when people commit offense, they jail them, and then they sell them to slave masters. They kidnap some people also and sell them. They kidnap girls and all of that. And this particular Akiri had fleet of, let me call it fleet of women and teenagers and children as wives. And then he takes this 7-year-old and impregnates her. She gives birth when she became 8 years, 4 months. And then her own child, when her child became 7 years, and which is, of course, the child of this same chief. The chief also impregnates that little child also at 7 years. And that one gives birth at 8 years, 8 months. And then things went normal. Nobody said anything. Things just went up. What is the reason for this? What is the reason for this? Because it is the same thing now today. We have been deprived. We have been, we have been raped. We have been raped by the politicians, raped by some people who come to say that they are fighting for Biafra freedom. We have been, injustice is so high today, just like what King Chief Akiri did then. Now, there's no difference, because what Chief Akiri did, he went away with it. What some of these people are doing today, the betrayals, the raping of the populace, and all of that happening today, also, these people are going or getting away with it. Now, what is the reason? What is the cause? Now, looking at it from the 1800s or 1880s, when this happened, this story of Chief Akiri, and looking at it in the 2002, the year 2000 or 2023 or 2023, yes, looking at it, it's about 200 and something years ago, 200 and something years ago, yet, yes, 200 and something years ago, yet this same behavior is still in us. We see evil, we see injustice, we are being raped, we are being deprived, we are being killed, we have everything happening to us, and yet we tend to still support and give our support to what is killing us. I was talking to somebody was talking to me today, this morning, and we're looking at critically, how she has received, she just went for a particular, in her workplace in the zoo, in Lagos, and just went for oral interview for you know, to be promoted in the workplace, because she's also, of course, a high rank officer. So more promotions coming and all of that. And I was trying to probe through the mind of this lady who is a Biafran, elderly woman, and of course having grown-up children in the universities, in other place, but in other parts of the world and all of that. Now, I was trying to probe through the mind of this woman, and there's something I asked, a particular question I asked. I said, okay, what was the question? I'm trying to remember. And then she made a statement that, wow, if this Tinubu government can just do this, then at least no matter what, people can still manage. I said, why are you making this statement? Because you are going to receive a promotion, because they have gotten the green light that you're going to have a promotion. And based on the fact that after Tinubu's presidency, after the election and Tinubu has won, now they're calling you for interview. Because before Tinubu went on, they forced all of you to come all out on the streets. All of you contributed. In fact, you people contributed about 10,000 each or so to support Tinubu's campaign. Monies were collected from your salaries. The civil servants in Lagos were forced to campaign for Tinubu. So this happened, and lots of things were done. Monies collected from the people to campaign for him, and also to vote for him, and also to pay for his campaign and programs, of course, which those monies don't go to Tinubu. They are taken or expended by those who are in charge of the ministries in Lagos. So those monies, Tinubu, all the workers, you contribute amount goes to Tinubu's campaign, and then they are the ones who are going to go out also to campaign for him and go around to the stadium, sit there, cheer and scream Tinubu. Sustain their business, sustain their jobs. They have to stay in line. They have to sustain their jobs. They have to sustain their business. So they have to do all of that. So now they do that when they're going to receive promotions and all of that. Now Tinubu is in. Now they have called them for promotions. Now she's saying that if Tinubu can be doing things like this, vote for him in the next. I now said that called for promotion, and I don't know if you can hear me. Please let somebody. Okay, I think you should be hearing me now. It's froze. I think so. Now, if you have been called for promotion and now you begin to consider that Tinubu is nice and all of that, it simply means that even if you are Biafra, you people all over, what you're going to get. So if your life is okay, if what you're getting is okay, if you're comfortable with what you're getting, it simply means that you don't need to bother about leaving Nigeria anymore, because you don't bother about freedom anymore, because you're actually getting yourself voted. And so as a Biafran, because of you don't care, you don't need to talk about freedom anymore, because everything is good with you and you're making money. You are being promoted, and you think that the government is giving you what they said they will give you regarding promotion and all of that. Now, and then she said something. She said, "No, not that. How are we going to survive? We're supposed to survive. We need to survive." I said, "Okay. The problem here is this: we have been put into a situation where we think about survival rather than thinking about a lifeline of profitability, purposefulness, and achievement. So anytime we are given a stipend or given opportunity to get stipend, anytime we have that stuff, that ability of all of that, we now have to also begin to, we have to now begin to, support the slave master, because we already are getting some stipends. That is the same. She said, "No, I'm into this Biafra thing, but when Simon did what he did now, I just said, it seems there's no hope anymore. Let me just continue my life in Nigeria." I said, "No, that is not the right way to go. You cannot say because Simon missed it, then you are going to now continue your life in Nigeria. Simon is not the Sinosha of Biafra. Simon is only a person who was supposed to do what he's supposed to do to make sure that he moves the movement freedom, since everybody supported him and all that, but he didn't do it. And so all you need to do is understand the difference between the movement for freedom and an individual. Simon is an individual. Of course, individuals are given opportunities to run some stuff. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has the opportunity to do that, and he's doing fantastically well, and he has not betrayed Biafra. He has not betrayed the movement. He has not gone contrary to the purpose and the spirit of Biafra. But Simon was given the opportunity and he messed up. That doesn't mean that as a Biafran, wherever you are, you just relax with what you are relaxing and feel that, okay, you have gotten promotion in Lagos, and so you just have to continue your life and forget about your freedom. It doesn't work that way. You must always think about, and I gave her analogy. Of course, she knows about my project in Nigeria. I said, I could as well also, because of this, continue go and embrace my project and say, since I'm going to do business with Nigeria, make money, let's forget about Biafra freedom. But the truth here is that there's something about sacrifice that talks about reality, sacrificing for the reality, rather than living in the odds, living in the little, living in the crumbs, seeking for the crumbs, and asking for the crumbs. Jesus was telling that woman and said, it's better for me, it's not appropriate for me to give you the food that belongs to the people, or the people of the kingdom, and give the food to dogs. And and the woman said, even the dog also eats from the crumbs, and all of that. Now, let me explain that. Anyways, in those days, the Hebrews or the Jews actually called those who are not Samaritans and other people, they call them dogs. That is an expression, to say they are not pure, or they are not part of the mainstream. They are not part of Jews, so they call them dogs. It was a derogatory name. It was not actually Jesus talking about giving the food to the dogs. He was using that derogatory name being used for those who are non-Jews in those days, and he was saying that how can you give the food that belongs to those who are of the kingdom, or those who are partakers of the kingdom, and give the food to the dogs? And the woman said, even the dogs also eat from the crumbs. Now, in relatively here now, you cannot seek to be of the kingdom and still seek to be one to eat from the crumbs. That's what it means. So if you are of the kingdom, then you must have to think about the main course or the main dish. That is your birthright. You shouldn't be the master walking on foot and then the servant sitting on the horse. So even if Tinubu gives you an opportunity of your of you being promoted, doesn't mean that you now neglect Biafra. You now begin to think. So I tried to educate her, and she was on the defensive, trying to make me believe that she's still in for the cause of Biafra, but she's just talking about survival. What do we do now? This spirit, many of them that have talked to me on this issue of Biafra, all this begin to say is, what do we do now? What are we going to do now? See, Simon has done this. Oh, I'm discouraged. I'm disappointed. I've just decided to hands up. Honestly, it doesn't work that way. That means you don't even understand what Biafra represents. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu even said it, that Biafra is a spirit. Biafra does not belong to anybody. It's not in anybody's hands. So all you need to do is to believe in that and also work towards it. Even if you have been disappointed by activities and all of that have happened initially, doesn't mean that you must begin to think Biafra is not an individual. Biafra is a people, and you are part of the people. So if an individual messes up and goes into dissuaditude as much as they would have to go based on the fact that they have messed up, you as an individual who is part of the whole people standing should now pick it up and go on. And so yesterday I gave the narrative. I was looking at the situation. The first narrative I gave was this: how can people who are working in oil companies, different places abroad, or wherever the actions that organizations effectively, organizations that are doing things structured in a way that nobody can easily steal their monies, organizations that are functioning in that light so that they can get the best out of their businesses, all be working situation. And then we now begin to the issue of Biafra, such kinds of, and what they do is that they begin to promote criminality by putting in money without asking for the basis or the structure on which that money will run. How can you put money into a thing and you don't ask for the structure that will sustain it? As I was saying initially, it is in Africa that because of the way our mentality have been bastardized and the situation that we have found ourselves based on the fact that we have this mindset that is influenced by slavery and mindset that have been jeopardized and brought to prejudice. Mindsets that have been relegated with the concept of institution rather than thinking or reasoning along the line of reasonability. You know, so why do we have to think of all of this? Because the situation here is that when we get to this point, we have to also begin to reason along the line that there's a problem. Why is it that Chief Akiri did all those criminal activities, carry out all those criminal activities? Thank you so much, Adazan, for joining. Dewo Kelechi, thank you so much. You're welcome. Appreciate you for joining. Now, why is it that these people carry out this? The Chief Akiri carried out those atrocities in the 1880s, yet the people sustained. The people allowed him to continue. And today also, so many people committing crime using Biafra, collecting monies from people, stealing from the people, raping the people, maiming the people, killing the people, yet the people are still praising them, funding them, and allowing it to go. What is the reason? What is behind this particular behavior amongst the people? That is what we want to find out. What is particularly behind this behavior from the people? Why do the people keep on allowing those who are killing them, those who are raping them, those who are maiming them, those who are keeping them in poverty, abject poverty, in penury, keeping them in a situation of bastardization, keeping them in a situation that they struggle and keep struggling and keep hoping, but hoping in hopelessness and all of that, and keep believing that something is going to happen positive along the line in some ways. And like the lady I was telling you about, she was even telling me that hopefully Nigeria can be better. Maybe Tinubu will help to make it better. And the truth here is, how would you think? And I told her, I said, how can you have a structure that is designed to fail and you think that it's going to be better when the structure itself was designed on criminality, positioned in criminality and all of that? How is it going to survive? Now, these people have been funding, they funded Owazurike. These are the same people who are working in places where they understand structure. I don't know whether they understand or they're just there working without understanding. But we know that they know that even they themselves cannot easily take money from that company because there's a structure running the whole thing. They can't take money from where their workplace. They can't just, if they want even cash, if they even want cash, they will have to apply for it. And when they apply for it, the application will go through a process and then the money will be released to them. When it is time for them to be paid, they receive their salaries. So there is a structure that helps to manage the economy of that company or that organization. How come they came into Biafra? They never thought about the economy or management of the structure that will help to make this thing that they are putting their monies into. Somebody was telling me about, a cousin who works in the oil company and who have been funding, funding Biafra, funding it until even to the point of Simon and giving them enough money. And the man is so discouraged now. He works in oil company in Chevron also, and and all of that in the zoo, and he has been funding. And then, he has been supporting, but now he's discouraged. And now he feels that he doesn't want to be part of this anymore. And I begin to ask questions. I said, how come he's working in a place like that where things are done discreetly and there's a structure that operates in every of their operations, or that guards their operations? There's a structure that handles or deals or that programs or takes their operations smoothly for effectiveness and results. How come someone who is working on that level still think of going to fund an organization running to get a nation realized without understanding the structure in which that organization runs? Why would I put my money into Biafra without asking questions to the people I want to give the money? Why? Now, the issue here is, I'm seeing the message coming that people cannot stream this program. I don't know why people cannot stream this program. I have to check this. I don't know what is going on with the settings here, but I cannot do that now because I'm already in program. So, but I believe I think people should be able to stream this program live, because I can see from here that I put on the stuff that gives me, ability to, that gives anybody ability to stream. It's on. I don't know why it cannot be streamed. I would have to check critically later. So let me concentrate here now. Why would anybody working in the oil company or working in any other company that is structured decide to put their money into Biafra without asking what is the structure that will make sure that this money I'm bringing in as an investment does not go into somebody's pocket. We say we are people of professionalism. We say we are people of knowledge. We say we call ourselves so many things. We claim to be intelligent, and puts into Biafra, which is on ground to make sure that their money is not stolen. And it's happened during the Owazuke. It still happened during the Mazin and Mikano. They made sure that Mazin and Mikano are right to get. They made sure that Mazin and Mikano does not set a structural right. So he would have just you know, abandoned this whole thing and forgot about the people. You know, he would have just, you know, forgot about it. If you cannot restrain this stuff, please check restrain, how to restrain from another program. So see if there's something you're doing wrong, because I know I've put the button on, but I don't know if it's still from my side. Maybe there's another button I need to put on. I don't know. But please also help me check that, because I cannot stop you from streaming this program when it's supposed to go all around in the nations of the world, so that people can hear the truth and walk with us in the, as regards the truth. So please, it's not a deliberate action to stop this program from being streamed by anybody. That is why I sent the link, so that it can be streamed. So try to get that, please, and understand with me. Now, we have a problem. The same way that people behave when this King Akiri, this Chief Akiri, messed up the life of 2 children and didn't receive any query, didn't receive any attack, didn't receive any judgment, didn't receive anything. He stayed and lived his life until he. Same way also here and continued in also today, people are allowing discrimination. Because we want to know where which problems are. The odds, the things that are making us suffer this way, the things that are making us, that is making Biafra project delay. We have to look at this. Remember, one of the factors here is that we actually believe without having an organized understanding of what we believe in. It is one thing to believe in a thing, it's another thing to believe in knowledge. Now, the belief system of a people is fundamental, very, very fundamental. Because when the people would have to, if the people would have to achieve, then the people will come to a point where they need to begin to deal with matters that concerns their reasoning and how they operate. And that's why we must understand that belief is very fundamental. Why would somebody walk in a place and do the right thing, understand structure, and then when it comes to what concerns him and his nation, he now loses his guard? He doesn't think about structure, doesn't think about how he can move on and how to make sure things work well. Why? What would cause anybody to have funded Biafra project all this while without thinking of the structure? What would, because that is one of the fundamental problems we have. And you know that as an average African, because of the slave mentality, especially based by beliefs, we don't know that there should be a structure based on the fact that most of us have gone to school and we have academic knowledge. Not because most of us don't have academic knowledge to understand all of this stuff, but because most of us now have a belief system that is affecting how we approach things that concerns our lives. So when it comes to things that have to do with our profession, we want to apply those tactics well. But when it comes to things that affect our lives, we want to, play down on structure. I hope I'm making it clearer now. Now look at it. Because of our belief system over the time, we tend to think that academic things should be structured well. That means when you're working in a place, when you have a business, when you have anything, you have to set the structure well to make sure your business works well. But when it comes to something that affects your life, that concerns your living, and that concerns your nation, you are now affected by your belief system, which is guarded or designed by a religious procedure in your mindset. Now, let me explain this. In those days when Chief Akiri or Chief Akiri and his cohorts, those who were committing those atrocities and all of that, were doing all of this stuff. There is a narrative then that was sold that the people believed in. They believed in tradition. And you have to understand that in those days, tradition became corrupted by people's manipulation of the minds. Then, when Biafra, when the people when the people in Biafra territory began their origin and all of that, they came from, coming from, Egypt and all of that, walking down, and of course, coming to meet, of course, some of those people who are indigenous to those places, or those people who are do I call them call them anyways. But when they came to that territory, some people came with the pure doctrine or the truth of the belief system, which has to do with Chukwokike, God of heaven and earth. Along the line, people started corrupting the doctrine of God and started corrupting the program of God for humanity. Just like what Nimrod did, in the book of Genesis chapter 11, when he built the Tower of Babel, he corrupted the ways of understanding God to suit his own religious program to control the people. Now, religion is a mechanism designed by humans or by people along the line, aside the doctrine or the religion of God, which is the lifestyle that we have in God. Aside the word of God and all of that, people create religious doctrines out of all of this stuff to suit their narrative for them to be able to control the minds of the people. So the people's minds were controlled by designs and by some other people who have influence over the people, creating a particular doctrine or a particular approach, from what they believe, from what they want to use and utilize as weapons against the people. Now, there are two ways fundamentally, to control people. One, by controlling their minds. Two, by putting them under subjection, in which you control their minds at the same time control them by what you do to them physically. So there is this approach to this. When people find that physically you're stronger than them, they tend to be careful, and that fear grips them when you want to take action against them. That is why you see someone who is having money, who is wealthy, not wealthy anyways, who is rich, has money, because when you say wealthy, it means so many things. It has nothing, it doesn't necessarily mean money. Someone who is rich and has money, and then someone who is poor. When the rich begins to say some stuff, the poor begins to feel insecure because physically this man has what it takes to deal with them in any ways. So they tend to subject themselves under the control of this person based on the fact that they have been defeated by what they have or the concept of what they think they have and this other doesn't have, or what this one has and they don't have. Now, it is very critical for us to reason along this line so that we can understand how we got here and why we're going through what we're going through. In those days, there was a corruption of the ways of God. So the people those who had influence began to build their own shrine and build their own control mechanism religiously to control the minds of the people. So over time, we started seeing lots of things, lots of evil going on in our system. Several places in Biafra land, people began to, that was when you began to hear of REC and all those stuff being created and designed. Producing evil into the system. Felt that the doctrine of evil was is more potent by instilling fear in them. Remember, Scripture says God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of love, of power, and of sound mind. I think it's First Peter chapter. Is it first? Please, Adazan, if you can help us find that, please. I don't know why I'm forgetting this. I think it's First Peter, anyways. But I think I've forgotten the. Oh my! I forgot this. God, power, and sound mind. Three dimension: love, power, sound mind. Remember, I talked about this. Love, power, sound mind. Love, power, sound mind. 3 dimension. Spirit of fear is fundamental. Is a household concept in the terrain of evil. The spirit of fear is a household concept in the terrain of evil. Now, I'll say it one more time. The spirit of fear is a household concept in the terrain of evil. which means in the terrain of evil, what is used to control you in totality is fear. Once you allow fear, it defeats every faculty of your ability, which means fear becomes a narrative. That is why it is easier to do evil, because the only thing you need to do is to be able to instill fear in people. And so people created religion in those days to instill fear in the people and control the people in their mind. Second Timothy, oh, it's Timothy, right? Oh, thank you so much for that. I think Second Timothy. Okay, yeah. When I was talking to Timothy, yes. Thank you for reminding me that. Oh my. I said Peter. That's Second Timothy. Please, people, write it down. Go and check it. God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and of sound mind. These are the three faculties. And that is why it's very difficult, to believe, to actually go with truth, because it has to do with a three dimension. Love, and it is very difficult sometimes to express love, even if it sounds so easy. Power, it's very difficult because people don't know how to activate that power within them in connection to Chukokige. Because people just want to do something evil. Sound mind, people want to reason and satisfy their flesh. So it is very difficult to find somebody going with that mindset that is sound. So these three faculties are where we are able to control the realm of the spirit. But because it is easier to follow the path of, that is why Scripture says, broad is the way that leads to destruction, and narrow is the way that leads to life. So people find it easier to go to that broad way, which has only one faculty, which is multifaceted, or is a broad spectrum narrative to control, because it is the word fear. Once fear is there, it subdues every other thing. It subdues the flesh, the soul, and the spirit. It subdues the three dimensions of human existence: love, power, sound mind. Love, power, sound mind. Now let me restrict this three dimension to the faculty of the human existence, to the personality of the human existence. You see, when you talk about love, you're talking about an expression that has to be physical. So it has to do with the body. You remember, the human existence deals with three dimensions: the soul, the spirit, and the body. So when you talk about love, you talk about the body, because you are going to treat somebody else the way you want them to treat you. So love now requires your actions towards people. And just like Jesus said, if you have not been able to love the people you see, how can you love the Father whom you have not seen? So because this love must be expressed to the people to also be a cynosure to expressing love to God, it is very difficult, because people find it very difficult to actually express love to people, especially when they have this mindset that people have done them wrong. Sometimes we struggle on how we're going to love people, how to give them something even when they have done us wrong. How to do, you see, we struggle with this spirit. Now, this is going to be a fundamental teaching, because we're tired of talking about all these people who are, yes, we'll keep reminding you of their evils and their wickedness, people like Simon Ekpa and all of that. But we want to begin to teach you. So, because by the time you begin to know things, begin to get knowledge about some faculties and some things, some details, you begin to see that naturally you begin to get yourself away from this evil that has plagued us and made us have this delay in our freedom. So that is why, I have decided to go in this dimension of teaching in this regard, so that we can get very, very effective. Now, love, I have to deal with the body, because it is an expression, it's an act. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. So it was an action that must come physically in the realm of the human existence, so that it would be attributed to the facts that govern the natural, and then carry out a program in the natural that will approve and prove the love. Without Christ shedding his blood and doing all of those stuff, going through the pains and the suffering and coming to die, sacrifice himself, go through the process of starving him, fasting, let me call it fasting now, and then also going through the process, just mere humans, and condemning him and all of that. God himself coming in that light, and doing all of this stuff in the natural. It has to do with anytime I quote a particular, or I make an expression, I make a thought about a particular scriptures, please, somebody just browse it and get it and put here, so and people can know where that scripture is from, because I'll be able to remember them very fast. Sometimes, because we have been so used to these scriptures, we forget the part of the books where they are found. So this Makiv media to pronounce this because John 3:16, for God so loved the world. So you have it there now. Now, God needed to express this love by physical love has to do with the because it is a spiritual concept that needs a physical approach to manifest. So God now did it, and then it became manifest. So now the concept now that God gives us, the spirit of love, power, and of sound mind. Now love now becomes the physical aspect of the expression, because the power that is connected to the realm of the soul, I mean the realm of the spirit, influences the mind, which talks, which of course is mentioned here, sound mind. God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of love. That means the expression of this sound mind in our physical, because the expression of love comes with the process of sound mind. And where the realm of frozen, please. Somebody should let me know. I want to check my system to know if I'm frozen. You know, this thing is sometimes very. The network signal here is somehow okay. Am I frozen? You can hear me now. So now these are the realm. These are the realm of the program that God actually deals with the people. So the physical, which is the aspect of the love itself being expressed and the power of God being expressed, comes with the concept of love. Now I want you to understand this. Now I want you to understand this in this concept, in this regard. Now what it means here is that power that resides in the realm of the spirit, spirit of man, connecting to the program of God, that comes to the realm of the soul, where we have sound mind, which God gives us when we have access to the true power. It's expressed in love in the physical, which means that the power that God gives us is supposed to be of love to humanity. That means project love. So when you see someone projecting a particular concept that is outside love, know that that person is exuding the concept of fear, which projects evil and projects destruction. God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and of sound mind. I've given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the powers of the enemy. To trample on snakes and scorpions. That is the signal of fear. As I think Luke chapter 10, verse 19 also. Somebody check it out. I've given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions and to overcome all the powers of the enemies, and nothing shall by enemies hurt you. So now you see, fear, when you see the snakes and scorpions, fear, what comes first is fear. Now that was the tool that this king, Akiri, this chief Akiri, used to control the people. Now the people allowed themselves to be controlled because over time, there were expressions of demonic programs, or things that manipulated the people in those days. Now, for instance, have you seen recently? Let me give you an instance. Have you seen recently, in our time, where you see somebody throw? There was a time, I think, in the late 90s. I remember I traveled to Aba, that cemetery area of Aba, and I saw somebody displaying all these, charms and all of those. These guys, those days, they were very, very. I think in 1996 or so, 97 or so, and they were displaying this charm, doing all of these things. Luke 10:19, yes, I've given you authority to trample on snakes and scorpions, to overcome all the powers of the enemies. Thank you so much for that. Now, I saw them doing all of this, and I saw one of them, know what they did? They now took one of them, their person, they now took their knife and butchered their person. Now, now when they butchered this person, after butchering him, after they covered him first, they covered him with something and they did all their stuff, and then they remove it, and then they butchered this guy, pieces him like meat, put him in a stuff and started boiling him to eat. And after boiling him, then they did some stuff again. That same person they butchered came out from somewhere else. People were screaming, wow, wow. They threw an axe up. The axe was hanging in the air. People screamed, wow. You know what that does? It is a magical approach to control your mind. Now, naturally, you begin to revere these people, revere them. When you begin to revere them, you begin to now see them as having a superior control over you. They can do anything to you. In fact, there's one I saw in Lagos then. This man, he did so many things, and then he now brought a carton, and that carton was empty, you know, and he put the carton, and he now covered the carton with a particular cloth. And then he opened the carton again. The carton was empty. He turned it upside down. Everybody saw it is empty. He put the carton again. I was there. You know, those days you see different drama everywhere. Then I think I was in secondary school, SS1 or so. And then he covered the carton and he started saying all those things he was saying. And then he now put his hand in the carton with the cloth covering it. And he brought to bring packets of soap, packets of biscuits, packets of sweets, packets of different things. And wow, we were also, wow. Now, you see, it is easier for that person to control your mind because now that person have shown to you that they have superior control over you by the power they can access. But this time around, it is the tool of control. Those days, such people like that chief stuff. So they use, now when you see such kinds of things that are called, people can call them signs, what do? That is why when you see most of these all these places they call places of worship today that they call church, what they do is they perform magic, and when the people see it, wow, people flock in those places. Then they begin to imagine a place where they tell people to eat grass. They go and eat grass. Imagine what's happened in Kenya, at the east coast of Kenya. And I think the man was brought to court 2 days ago or so, and he pleaded not guilty or so. Now, this man forced over 1,000 people to be starving. Over about 1,000 people died, were killed. Some of them were strangled, some of them were starved to death, and they have exhumed over 300 bodies now of his members in his church. He was a former taxi driver. What's the name of that church now? Good News something. Good News something. Good News International something also. I think I got Good News, yes. I can't remember very well anyway, so I don't make mistakes. Now, this man made people to starve. In fact, you know, the truth here is this. They said, according to the story, some of them that were rescued were saying no, they want to continue the starvation and die. They want to die. They want to go to heaven quickly because that is how they have been taught. The man had brainwashed them. Former taxi driver had gone to acquire powers and had controlled the minds of people. He had now acquired a mass territory in Kenya where he built a community. The members, and some of them used so many things happening. He built his so-called ministry there and doing lots of atrocities, committing lots of atrocities. Do you know how he was able to achieve that? He was able to acquire and seek for a particular dimension of control so that he will be able to have these people under him, subjected to him. Now, those days, such kinds of king like Chief Akiri did all of those stuff. And so when they perform all of this stuff, they were able to control the minds of the people. And the people now believed that the gods have these people as superior. So when they carried out these kinds of action, like raping that little girl, 7-year-old girl, and all of those stuff, rather than seeking for justice, believing in these people and promoting them. Over time, that became the norm. That was why people like Akiri could sell slaves and nobody says anything. Everybody wants to behave well so that he doesn't become a victim of Akiri's program. And other people, not just Akiri. I'm using Akiri as a cynosure, as a representation of the whole thing happening in Biafra land those days. Now, our people became bastardized with this stuff. The colonial masters now came. In that light, the people were easily sold out by these people like Akiri, Chief Akiri. The people were easily sold out. The people easily allowed themselves to be governed, to be controlled, and to be subdued by the colonial masters, because the colonial masters used those people who had spiritual control over the minds of the people. They had already built a belief system around the people to believe that what they do is what the gods want. So because of this now, the people were so much under this spiritual control, and they became too religiously connected to that belief system. That was where we began to have a problem of being able to reason. Rather, we always believed that whatever comes is actually what God has proposed or purported. So over time, the people became weakened in their spirit. The people cannot fight, they cannot come together. They felt that the gods will be after them. If they do anything against some people, they are going to be some people. I remember one time in my class in secondary school those days, not in my class, yes, in my class then, but of course, not in my particular class. That means my class level. And somebody was doing something I think I don't know what he did in that particular class in our level, anyways, but not in my own class now. Talking about my class, mean the same. I think it's GS3, the same GS3, but in another class, anyways. And then in that class, somebody was doing something. I don't know. This teacher entered the class, and we had this fear of this teacher because the notion or the narrative was that he was a son of a juju man. His father is a spiritualist. So we always had this fear about him. So one day when this guy, whether he was making me noise or something, he did something, and he told the guy, or he told that boy then that he was going to turn the guy to, he was going to turn him to a small puppy. Everybody became afraid in the class. When we had the story, we all became afraid. Let this man not turn us to puppies. So. And you see, there were some actions that were carried out those days, and people began to live in fear. Now, people were born to parents who were now subdued, and that fear now continued in the children, and they now saw it as a norm. And when the colonial masters came, they capitalized on that and used those people who had control over the people then to continue to subject and subdue these people and put them under the concept of fear. Of course, the people now became victim of their belief, because the religious program that has to do with controlling their minds became the tool to control them. And so when the colonial masters came, those who were controlling the people felt that they had upper hand, and so they allowed themselves to partner with the colonial masters for their selfish gains, and the people were already helpless. They couldn't do that. Now it's now continued in the DNA of our people until the colonial masters were able to compose the narrative called Nigeria. Under Nigeria, our people, they were still using people who were being trained, groomed to take over those who are going, those who are dying, to groom them to take over. They train them along the line of the British system. At the same time, they empower them spiritually to continue. So that narrative continued in people like for the people. So and Co had the opportunity. When they had the opportunity to say that there will be no more Nigeria, they all fought to make sure he didn't want a division. He wanted the slavery to continue, so that he wanted Nigeria to continue, so that he'll be able to control the people. So is it frozen? Now I want to give you a video. I want to play a video that now will show you based on what is happening. So, this particular man is sitting in a place of power, and then I'm talking about the classroom now. He's the teacher, or he's the lecturer, and then the students. Now he commands anything he commands, but because of the narrative in the minds of the people, the belief system of the people, the teacher can decide who is in the class and not. They were not able to, but he did that on purpose. He wanted to teach them a lesson. Now, this is going to be a very fantastic lesson for going forward from now as we speak, as we talk about what we are doing now, as we want to correct some odds that have, affected us. Now, remember Chief Akiri, nobody stood for the girl, nobody stood for the little girl, nobody condemned the man, nobody fought for the girl, because the belief system of the people have been affected. Now let's listen to this.
You there, second desk, blue jacket. What is your name?
My name is Alexis.
Alexis, please leave my lecture room. I don't want to see you at one of my lectures ever again.
I don't understand.
I am not going to ask a second time. Thank you. Why are there laws? What are laws for? Anyone?
Social order?
To protect the person's personal rights.
So that you can rely on the government?
Justice? Thank you. Tell me, was I unfair to your classmate just now? Indeed I was. So, why didn't any of you protest? Why didn't any of you try and stop me? Why didn't you want to prevent this injustice? You see, what you have just learnt, you wouldn't have understood in 1,000 hours of lectures unless you lived it. You didn't say anything because you weren't affected yourself. And this attitude speaks against you and against life. You think it doesn't concern you, so it's none of your business. Well, I'm here to say, if you don't help bring about justice, then one day you too may experience injustice, and there will be nobody there to stand before you. Truth and justice lives through us all, and we must fight for it. Because in life and work, I mean, we often live next to each other, but not with each other. We console ourselves that the problems of others are nothing to do with us, none of our business. And we go home glad at night that we're spared, but it's about standing up for each other. Every day an injustice happens in business, sport, or on the tram. Relying on someone else to take care of it is not good enough. It is our duty to be there for others, to speak up for others when they cannot. I am here to teach you the power of your voice. I want you to learn critical thinking to empower you to stand up for what is right, even if it means going against what everyone else is doing. Let's begin.
Did you ever capture anything from that video? Did you ever notice anything from that video? Did you ever learn anything from that video? Now, that video is a clear representation of what and why we are having delays to Biafra restoration. Now, I'm going to bring out the lessons from that video. I might not finish it in this particular broadcast. I'm going to do the part 2 tomorrow and Sunday also. Now, here is a man who is the lecturer and then the students. Now, I want you to observe from the beginning of that video something. When he entered the class, you would notice that everyone had a regard for him, respect for him. Those who sat inappropriately sat upright, and everybody became calm and I tend to have a problem with the network. I think I have to, please, if you can hear me, send me a message. Let me know if you can hear me so that I can. Okay. There's a problem with the network here. I don't know if anybody can hear me. I have a problem with the network. I think I have to just log off for today, and then we do it. Yeah, okay. Makiv Media says it gave a big boost gave a huge boost to your teaching, although only to those who care to embrace a change and renewal of mind. Yes, Romans 12:2, renewing of the mind. Yes, Romans 12:2. Thank you so much, Maxive, for that. Adazan says I can hear you. Okay, I would have to end. I don't know. I don't want this network to start kicking me on and off again because it causes me to lose concentration. Maybe I'm going to end this broadcast tomorrow. I'm going to continue. Let me look for how I'm going to solve this. And the network problem is not something I'm not going to be able to solve. I don't know how, but I think the issue of people getting this thing to restream or copying the link and restreaming is a problem for me now. I don't know why it's like that. So I'm going to end this broadcast here. I'm going to play that video again tomorrow, and we're going to talk about it same time, maybe earlier in Biafra time, 4 p.m. Biafra time tomorrow. We're going to be looking at this extensively, and I'm going to now explain better using this video. As Massive has said, I'm going to use this video at the same time. Also, I'm going to now begin to give step-by-step understanding of why we have these delays, because there's so many things that are in that video that some of us have not been seeing. Massive, I don't know. This stuff might cut me off again. That's the problem. And it's just when it cuts me off like that, it destabilizes my mind. It makes me very uncomfortable and not happy. And before you know it, I have to gather myself again to start the teaching. Now, let me see if it cuts me off this time around, I'm going to end it at once. I don't want this stuff to cut me off again. So let me continue, as you have said. Now, this video is very, very fundamental, as you guys have seen. And I don't know, for those who didn't see that video when I played it, I don't know if I'm going to play it again, but I'm going to play it again, not now, but I want to explain. Now, if you observe very well what happened in that video, here is a man, and here is a class of people having their own time, discussing and all of that. And then suddenly this lecturer gets into the class. And as soon as he gets into the class, we can see that there's this reverence given to him. You get that? Now, the reason why that is because they understand his position as a lecturer. And they understand his authority being a lecturer. So they have to be careful so that they don't get into problems with him or God. So I think we have to end it here. This the situation is very bad. I don't know. It gets me off and all of that. I don't want us to keep having this break in this teachings today to not really make it flow. We have to. I think we have to get it. We have to move for. Yeah, it's becoming a nuisance. Yeah, I think I need to get a very good Wi-Fi. I need to get a very good Wi-Fi. That's it. So we have to end it here, please, so that it doesn't go off again. It doesn't go off again. I have to end it here. So thank you all for being part of it. I'm so sad. I'm so sad that it's costing me. Oh my God, I wish I could go on with this. Please, tomorrow I'm going to be here tomorrow. I wish you all the best day, and of course for the weekend. May God keep you and protect you. Thank you so much, all. I'm so angry now, but I have to just take it the way it is. I wish I could go on with this teaching. Honestly, it's very, very important. We're going deeper into the problem so that we can solve these problems together, and so that we don't remain foolish and continue in the narrative that is affecting us. Thank you all. I appreciate you for being here. Everyone who has turned up, who came, who showed up. It's a privilege. It's a privilege talking to you and having you listen to me. And I appreciate you all. Please share this broadcast on all your social media platforms. Subscribe to the channel if you have not, so that the thing can go far and wide. Send it all to people to hear. Let them hear these things. I'm going to have the part 2 tomorrow. We're going to continue this narrative and see how we're going to get results. And hopefully, by God's grace, it's going to be marvelous, it's going to be powerful, and we're going to get results. Thank you all. I appreciate you. God bless you.